Recording, FYI, just to let you know. Okay, so the purpose of today's meeting is to provide you an overview of the attachments that are forthcoming in the fully executed grant agreement email and provide you guidance on your next steps for this grant initiative. My name is Jennifer Grooms, and I am a Grants, Statistical Development, and Special Projects Specialist with the Apprenticeship and Training Office. And I'm assigned to this grant to support you in any way I can to provide technical assistance. Joining me is a very supportive team who from time to time may have some interaction with you regarding certain areas of your grant. So we do have our supervisor, Tanya Seibert with Grants, Statistical Development, and Compliance is here to help review any questions that may come about. And we do have members of our apprenticeship and training field staff available. So there are regular programs that you will be working with them on building the standards out. I do see supervisor for the pre-apprenticeship division, Danielle Demirovic, has joined us. So again, we have a supportive team here. We also have some members from BWDA, including Christina Ramos, that may be a part of sending you your fully executed email, but it has been coming from another individual most recently, so we will cover that in a moment. So again, just a quick reminder, we are recording. If you do not want to participate, please log out, send me an email, and we'll schedule another time for you. I've muted you as you've come in. If you could hold questions until the end, you can unmute using the button in Teams to click and ask your questions. All right, so here we go. All right, the future fully executed grant agreement and NOO is going to come from most likely Denise Scarborough. And I've got her name up at the top in the cloud there with her email so that you're aware of that coming through. Some of you that do have a local workforce board that's your fiscal agent already have these documents in place. Again, a little different scenario for our local workforce boards versus our non-local. So the majority of you are considered non-local, and you're still awaiting the information. It is not on hold because of our budget. It is on hold because of an encumbrance date that we use internally. And we should be able to get those funds out to you once the grant agreements are all done with legal, and we expect that in the next week or so here. Again, not anything dealing with the current budget stalemate. These are funds from previous year. We are just awaiting the grant agreements to get signed off. All right, so contents of this email that are coming to you. Two items, the top two items, or items you will need to ensure you review and return to Denise or the resource account that I have at the very bottom of the screen within 14 days. The first is the attestation, and I'm going to go ahead and click that so you can get a copy or get a chance to see exactly what that looks like. This will need to be signed by the authorized signatory as listed in the grant agreement. So this will state I, and whomever that is, will comply with the following PA Department of Labor and Industry policies, and they will be able to review those policies, place their name, title, their grantee name, and contract in there. And again, this needs to be remitted to the resource account that is on the PowerPoint. So this, in addition to an audited financial statement and IRS Form 990, will be the first two items that you will need to take care of once the fully executed email is sent to you. If you are not required to submit the IRS Form 990, you may submit a letter stating that, and that can come with the attestation form at that time. Again, the resource account is ra-li-bwda-gs@pa.gov. All right, the next document we're going to take a look at is just a sample of what your fully executed signed grant agreement will look like. All right, this again is a sample from a program previously sent out. At the very top, it'll have PA Smart supporting Pennsylvania's healthcare sector through apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. Your organization's legal name, if you're doing business as another name, again, all of the details specific to your address, the contact person, and notably, it'll have the start date and end date. Within this grant agreement, you will find signatures at the bottom of this page, and then it is several pages long because it pulls in your project narrative, your goals and outcomes, your budget, everything associated with the agreement that you are entering into with the state of Pennsylvania. The next one, this is your ticket to spend, the fully executed notice of obligation. Again, this is a sample for you to see. It will have an NOO number associated with your organization, who you are grant recipient wise, your address, telephone, and specifically it'll state that this is a PA Smart Fund, state funding, the grant period to and from, as well as the NOO period to and from. And again, as a reminder, the period of performance for this grant is July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2027. And the NOO is going to display that same time frame for you to spend by your budget in review of activities to meet your outcomes. Again, additional items that will be coming in this fully executed agreement include your terms and conditions, which we will go over today, a portion of those, the quarterly narrative report template, the quarterly performance report template. If you're developing a pre-apprenticeship program, you're going to see the enrollment and how to use that form for intakes. For those of you supporting apprentices, you will use CWDS in order to list the apprentices being reached by your grant funds and what funds are being used to support them. You will receive your grant financial report package, which we affectionately call GFRP. That is your budget and how you will invoice for expenses that you've incurred and need to be reimbursed from this grant. And lastly, we'll include the closeout packet for you to have on hand. And we'll talk a little bit more in a few slides about the closeout packet. Again, if you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We will go to question and answer section once we get through the majority of the slides. All right, so once these items are in, there are some key items to note. Grantees need to adhere to the requirements outlined in the fully executed grant agreement. Once the notice of obligation is received, spending and invoicing for reimbursements may begin within the dates noted on the NOO. And the NOO will permit the grantees to submit invoices through CWDS to spend the funds in alignment with your budget for reimbursement. And then please note, the support of apprentices through related technical instruction or on-the-job training will not be accessible in your GFRP until your program is registered with the Pennsylvania Apprenticeship and Training Council. Once you have the NOO, if you do not have any expenses for July 1st or through August 1st, we will ask that you submit zero balance expenditures for those items and those months in CWDS. And more information will be coming as we meet and review the GFRP and the NOO specifically to support your understanding of invoicing for this. And last but not least, of course, communication with the ATO is important. So email, call, we're available to support you through this process. All right, each grantee will undertake the development of a new program with this given grant. So as a refresher, please note registered apprenticeships have 5 key components that differentiate the approach from other types of workplace training programs. The components include a paid job, on-the-job training, related technical instruction, mentorship, and credentials. This combination of components is what makes registered apprenticeships a viable option for giving career development opportunity to individuals who may not have been able to engage in it prior to other methods. Likewise, registered pre-apprenticeship programs have 5 key components that lay the foundation for future apprentices by preparing qualified candidates with academic knowledge and skills tailored to specific jobs and industries. Each pre-apprenticeship program establishes a connection to at least one existing registered apprenticeship program, offers approved training curriculum, delivers hands-on learning through a variety of unique program designs and approaches, offers the opportunity to earn an industry-recognized credential, and access to supportive services and career counseling. Apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs funded by this grant must be registered within the Commonwealth. Awardees will have until 1 year from contract start date to finalize their registration or show progress towards the finalization of registration. And the ATO will define making progress towards registration on a case-by-case basis. Grantees are expected to initiate contact with and continue to meet with representatives of the ATO as the state apprenticeship agency, we are an SAA, to establish, develop, or expand the apprenticeship associated with this grant. And grantees who do not make adequate progress towards their registration may have funds deobligated. So the first step is to sign up for an orientation, whether you're developing a registered apprenticeship program or pre-apprenticeship program. And I will share these links later in the presentation for you to click and fill out the form in order to attend an orientation. It's important to note that we have a field staff to assist you as you develop your registered apprenticeship program. So the field staff is consisting of Supervisor Christy DeWitt and area apprenticeship and training representatives, in addition to special project ATRs, as we call them affectionately. And this division will be a vital partnership for grantees of this award. If you have not reached out to the field staff, please make a note in the meeting chat, and at the conclusion of this meeting, I will assist you in finding your ATR to support you in the development of your standards. We do offer a slew of guides and resources in our PA CareerLink Registered Apprenticeship website. There are regulations, the standards are there, and again, you can find information not only for registered apprenticeship, but the pre-apprenticeship programs. Which brings us to the pre-apprenticeship division. Again, this division will assist awardees to understand the process to register a new pre-apprenticeship program. They will be valuable in understanding the guidelines and regulations. They are led by Supervisor Danielle Demirovic. I am so sorry, Danielle. I mess it up every time. And consisting of 2 area pre-apprenticeship and training representatives, again, affectionately known as ATRs. So please make a note in the chat if you're uncertain of who you need to work with. Chelsea kind of covers a portion of the state and Brian covers the other portion. So depending on where you're located, it'll depend on who you'll be working with. This division also holds weekly office hours on Fridays at 10 a.m. And the new programs developing a registered pre-apprenticeship should plan to attend a Friday office hour by sending an email to the pre-ra@pa.gov for a Teams invite link. And as a reminder, pre-apprenticeships in Pennsylvania must be linked to an existing registered apprenticeship. There are matriculation expectations for pre-apprentices to become apprentices. And this guide that you see on the left side of the screen is available through our PA CareerLink registered apprenticeship website for use. So the next few slides, we're going to take a look at terms and conditions and specifically how to report on the activities of the grant. So the quarterly narrative report is specific to activities that have occurred each quarter. The quarterly progress report is going to have monthly listings for you to show intake of new apprentices or pre-apprentices once your program is registered. So I will first and foremost take a look at the Q&R for you to see. On the right-hand side of the screen is the listing directly from your terms and conditions of when the first quarter report, the period is from July 1 to September 30th. We give you 30 days past the end of the quarter in order to submit your reports. So you'll see the due date as October 31st. All right, so the Q&R template is fairly self-explanatory. We're looking for general information such as your quarterly grant activities, any employers or businesses that you've engaged with, worked with education and training partners, and then the progress towards your outcomes and goals that you have submitted on your outcome and goals table. Any challenges and barriers that you'd face and strategies to overcome those. So again, it's just a couple pages of information specific to your program and how you're progressing through that. At the very top, the top 3 or 4 are specific to apprenticeship programs that are registered, and the bottom 2 are specific to your pre-apprenticeship program registration date and the affiliated registered apprenticeship program to it. You'll note that we do request our grantees to use a naming standard when they are emailing in their quarterly reports. So you'll for example, use grant initiative name, the period that you're reporting for, and then your name, your organizational name, and the contract number. So I gave you an example here of supporting healthcare, that you would be submitting your July through September 2025 report, whatever company that is, and then the contract number that you will have on your grant agreement. Likewise, you'll save the Q&R based on that name. So you'd save Q&R supporting healthcare July to September 2025, your company's name, and the grant number. This will help our data team as they sort through the number of emails we receive each quarter when reports are due. All right, so to capture data on our apprentices and pre-apprentices being reached, we have a little more extensive spreadsheet to use. The easiest part of the spreadsheet is the first tab. It's your grantee data, so basically the organizational name and the contract number. You'll see the next 3 are specific to apprentices, and then numbers 5, 6, and 7 are pre-apprenticeship. These are very similar in nature, just obviously apprentice versus pre-apprentice specific. So I'm going to review, for the sake of time, just the apprentice information, and we'll go from there. And again, this looks daunting, but honestly, once you fill it out once or twice, it won't. It'll be a continuation of what you are doing within the grant once the program is registered. So you see column A is specific to the categories of what we're looking for in recording. Columns B and on are specific to the quarter and the given months within that quarter. You'll note in row 4, we're looking for the registered program name. We're not looking for the apprentices' names. We're looking for your program, when it gets registered, the name that it's sponsored under. You will, for example, if it's ABC Apprenticeship, type that name in row 4. And once you have supported an apprentice entering the program with either RTI, OJL, or a supportive service, you will then place the number in the given month at which you provided that support. So let's say you get your program registered in December, you kick off in January of 2026, and you enroll 5 apprentices. And that is what you would do in column K. Row 9 is just a subset of 4 through 8. So again, if it's ABC apprenticeship, these are going to be the same individuals in row 4, but those that are specific to an underrepresented population. And if you're uncertain of what the NGA specifically is looking for, please refer back to it for the underserved population. So again, if you had 5 enrolled January 26th, 3 of them may very well be considered underrepresented, and you would place 3 in row 10. Row 16, once again, these are the active individuals. So the month they are enrolled as new is the month they are considered active. Again, row 16, you would put the name of the apprenticeship. And if all 5 started and continued throughout January, you would list 5. If that was the same for February and March, you would continually type 5 across there. This category does not calculate because we do know that there's a fluctuation to when our apprentices are active and pre-apprentices. So if we see that for some reason we have a 5 in January, a 4, and a 4, at that point we would either look to see if somebody completed, or we would understand someone has dropped out from the program since January. And then row 21, under it is specific to your program again, and anybody that has completed the program. We would not expect to see completions until well later in the quarters, given the program as far as apprentices are concerned in the healthcare industry. Pre-apprentices, we would expect to see most likely completion sooner than an apprentice. And row 27 is just a subset of 21, those that completed that are from an underrepresented population. Again, if you have any questions, the gold headers have tooltips that you can click on, and they will tell you exactly what we're trying to gain from the information in each of the categories. So the apprentice demographics new is the tab that will align with the month that you initially enroll somebody. So your approval has occurred in December. You start a cohort in January 2026. We would expect to see in January 2026 a breakdown of how many of them were male, female, etc. For the entire line of L, the column L, I'm sorry. So again, you would place 5, 5, again, just depending on whether they have told you this information as you are enrolling them for Rapids and CWDS. This is our way of protecting their personally identifiable information because these are coming in through email versus Rapids, which is a secure website, and CWDS, also a secure website. So we do not use names, but we do use numbers to verify the information coming in. The apprentice demo completed is the section in which you would input the month, how many individuals have completed the program. Again, for an apprenticeship program, we may not see any completions until well into 2027. Pre-apprentices will most likely have completions prior to that. The program information tab is specific to the new development of either a individual registered apprenticeship program, a new group registered apprenticeship program, and the number of employers that are affiliated. And the third one is new pre-apprenticeship program being developed. All of our grantees with supporting healthcare are going to be creating new programs. So you'll only have to worry about numbers 1, 2, and 3, depending on what you're working on. So the month that you receive approval of your program's registration is the month we would expect to see a 1 in one of the categories. Referring back to you received approval in December of 2025 for a new individual registered apprenticeship program, we would expect to see a 1 there, and we would not expect to see any additional information coming through here unless you're registering more than one program. The funding specific tab is to help you keep track of how much RTI, OJT, and supportive services are being spent on the minimum number of apprentices or pre-apprentices that your program is intending to work with. You can split out between row 3 and 4, whether you've divided or dispersed funds for RTI, OJT, and support services of an apprentice, or row 4 is specific to work experience, any RTI or support services dispersed to pre-apprentices. As you input funds being spent, so let's say you spent $1,000 on pre-apprentices in January of 2026, the amount will reduce from what you have, and it'll give you an estimated amount per pre-apprentice at that point. Again, we know that this is a lot of information, and as you prepare to fill out a QPR, we will be continually reviewing this information through our monthly grantee check-ins, and don't hesitate to ask questions if and when we get to reporting aspects of a QPR. Again, when you name the QPR, you will save the template for the given time frame that you're reporting. You'll name it QPR, supporting healthcare. Could very well be for January to March of 2026, and your company name and your grant number. Great. Continuing on terms and conditions. Success stories is an opportunity to submit details of ongoing program success. And when at different times, the ATO will request this information from you, and we will provide the format for that. Grantees are required to ensure that the sponsors of a registered apprenticeship program, whether they are grant funded or not, will enter required data for participants into the Registered Apprenticeship Partner Information Data System, which I referred to as RAPIDS, and any alternate tracking system. Again, we will require CWDS to be used for apprentices being supported by grant funds. And you will have 45 days from the date of paying for OJT, RTI, or a support service to have the individuals inputted into CWDS. You may very well have them inputted into RAPIDS and not need to input them into CWDS until 2 months after they've registered in RAPIDS. Just because they've not required any payment to be made out of the grant to be reimbursed to you. And I will be setting up monthly calls or Teams meetings, and we hope to get that started in September with each of you. Again, grantees may be selected to participate in a state grant performance review. You must be able to submit any budget modification, narrative updates, and grant extension requests as necessary to the ATO. And you will be asked to participate in any required trainings events. We'll coordinate that with you, or if we need to make a visit, we'll also request that. And grantees must also follow the closeout submission process, which again, we'll briefly touch upon, but that will be something as we get closer to the end of the grant that we will specifically talk about in our monthly meetings. All right, so just to give you a quick overview of CWDS and the intake process for apprentices, I'm going to just share a few slides of the guide that you're going to receive in your fully executed email. I don't expect you to remember all of this. I just want to touch upon the information so you are aware this is part of the grant. Okay, so we will offer a intake support form for you to follow with these photos that will be shown on the next few slides. So information on all apprentices that receive state funding are required to be entered into CWDS. Again, that's the Commonwealth Workforce Development System. We, again, affectionately love to use acronyms here. As the ATO, we call ourselves that. CWDS is another one of those. The sponsor of the registered apprenticeship program will need to obtain a user account. So again, you may be the grantee, but you may not be the sponsor of the registered apprenticeship program. It's important for you to relay that information to the sponsor as you are working with them, that this is a requirement on their part, that not only do they need to put the individual into Rapids, but once you have spent money on the apprentice, the sponsor will need to put them into CWDS. The first time a user will need to navigate to the CWDS homepage that you can see on the right-hand side. And again, they'll click to register for the program or the site. So within the user enrollment screen, they will need to select provider of services. And a lot of times, if it's an employer that's a sponsor, they believe they need to select employer. But for enrollment of apprentices, it's specific to provider of services. The next screen will show the provider folder list, and they'll locate their folder via the search. This particular search was for the German American Chamber of Commerce, Philadelphia, and they'll select the folder and click join. And then the next screen will give them an individual or contact list. Hopefully their name will be there. If not, they can create an account. If their name is there, they can click next to the select and choose associate contact. They will then receive an access code. And at that point, they'll need to reach out to the apprenticeship at pa.gov and provide the FEIN number to receive their CWDS temporary access code. So if the sponsor is changing contact information for Rapids, they could also do that at the same time when they send to the apprenticeship at pa.gov email that they are going to need their access code and that they're going to be a new contact for Rapids. They could do both at one time. Once they receive that temporary access code, they'll put that in with their last name, and then that will take them through the steps of finalizing their account, and they would then be able to see the dashboard where the intakes can occur. But again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to drone through these because all of you need to work through the creation of your program in order to get to this point. Just something to highlight and to keep note of. All right, those of you that are doing the pre-apprenticeship program, Pennsylvania tracks enrollments at this time through SurveyMonkey. At some point, it will be a build-out in the Commonwealth Workforce Development System, but not at this point. So if you are a current sponsor of a pre-apprenticeship program, you may very well be familiar with the enrollment process, but I have just a couple slides here to review some of the details. It does open once a month, and for this month, it'll open next week and it'll run through the 5th of the following month. And this is the opportunity for the pre-apprenticeship sponsor to list how many pre-apprentices are new, or they may very well need to update an enrollment from a previous apprentice that was enrolled in the program. And for individuals that are being supported by the ATO grants, they will need to select yes when specifically asked for grant funds. supporting them. Again, we'll go over more details of the enrollment process once we get to that point. All right, so you may find after you begin working on the process to build your standards packet and move through the process that there are some changes that are coming about for your grant compared to your application. You can submit a grant change request. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see this form. You can receive this from the grants services by contacting the ATO grants@pa.gov, and this form will be sent to you. For any budget modification, project narrative, if you've got a timeline that is going to be different than what you submitted with your application, potentially different goals and outcomes, just because you've started working through and some things have changed, you'll want to request this modification cover because as grant managers, we want to know how your program is going and what needs change to support you in those changes that are coming about. So please submit an email. Again, use the grant name, supporting healthcare. You're requesting a budget modification and your contract number, and give us some details in the email as to why you need a modification to that. Once we receive that, we'll send you the modification form in order for you to fill that out. All right, so a quick overview of the closeout process. Grant closeout is due within 60 days of the expiration of the grant, or after all funds have been fully expended, whichever one will occur first. The complete closeout package will be covered again in future grant meetings as we get closer to March of 2027. And finally, just as a wrap up, I do have March 28th currently blocked off for our budget and invoicing. But I have found out that grant agreements still haven't left our legal counsel. There's been a push to get it out this week. So I am going to move us to September 9th at 2 p.m. And at that point, the fiscal technicians will be available to review the GFRP, how you invoice with it, how you will use CWDS to upload the GFRP, and the documentation that aligns with the expenses you've paid out from the your organization to cover RTI, OJL, or supportive services, or work experience if it's pre-apprenticeship, and the documentation that goes with that. So as soon as this meeting ends, I'm going to update the August 28th to September 9th at 2 p.m. And that will take us to questions. Or I put you all to sleep, which is very easy when reviewing this info on a Thursday afternoon. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm also going to stop recording.